If you're a pizza lover, I mean, what am I saying? I think any warm-blooded organism is a pizza lover, but if you want to make a pizza perfect each time, then you've come to the right place. By the way, I'm Josh, and you're watching Ambitious Eats. Making pizza intimidates many, but I gotta say, if you want to go out and spend $15, maybe even $20 on a pizza at a restaurant, then go empty out your pocketbook. But if you want to save potentially hundreds a month, depending on how much you eat out, then this channel, Ambitious Eats, is for you. First things first, combining the wet and dry ingredients. Take 3 cups of flour, 1 to 1.5 cups of cold water, a half packet of instant or active dry yeast, doesn't matter, a tablespoon of olive oil, I like garlic or basil infused olive oil because I'm like that, a tablespoon each of salt and sugar, and combine until you've got a shaggy dough. The sugar is so the yeast can feed and the salt adds flavor to the dough, and believe me, you do not want to forget it. Have you eaten cardboard? Unsalted pizza crust tastes even worse, don't ask me how I know that. Once you've combined everything in the bowl, it's time to knead for about 10 to maybe even 15 minutes. Fold the dough over itself and keep folding until the gluten forms. By now you're probably wondering what that means, because if someone pointed at a loaf of bread at the bakery and said, "Look at how well formed that gluten is," you'd think they were certifiably insane, and that person who said that was probably me. According to modernistcuisine.com, an excellent food science, recipe, and culinary research blog, gluten helps dough rise by trapping gas bubbles during fermentation and is what gives bread, dough, and crust its flavor and texture. Those gas bubbles turn into the beautiful porous holes you see in baguettes, bagels, and pita, and anything else that pretty much has flour and yeast. There is some debate out there on that darn Google.com that you don't have to knead to form that fluffy porous interior in bread and pizza, but that can take a lot of time and needs to be more controlled than your kitchen may allow. Kneading is much faster and home-cook friendly, and it gives you a killer upper body workout. Once you've kneaded it for not as long as it feels, believe me, it can feel like an eternity, but your arms will be Greek statue level chiseled. Store the dough ball in a bowl and cover with plastic wrap, a towel, or a lid if you have one for your bowl for at least an hour and a half and up to 24 hours at room temperature to let the yeast rise and the dough rest so the gluten can form. The dough should be softer, spongier, and at least twice the size it was when you placed it in the bowl. If this does not happen, that means the yeast you used was no good. If you're not sure if your yeast is alive, take it out of the packet and add it to some warm water to see if it blooms. If it does nothing, it's dead. And that's not a personification, it is literally dead. If you just bought the yeast and you have not reached the expiration date, you're in good business and you can add it right to the flour. Separate the dough into however many smaller pieces you want. If you want big monster pizzas, you can do 2. If you want individual, you can do 4. If you want to goof up like my silly self did, you can do 3, and my god, it took me forever to knead those 2 smaller dough balls together, but it all worked out in the end. Once it's all kneaded, place them in a shallow pan or Pyrex dish and cover with plastic wrap and let rest for another 30 minutes. The dough will rise some more and your crust will be even fluffier and more authentic. So, forming the dough. Another great area for people, but not that hard and really fun actually. Punch it softly in the middle and press it out with your knuckles until you have kind of a disc, and then turn it using your knuckles on its side and gently stretch it out. Place it back on the pizza peel, which I've lined with parchment paper because that's what a noob like me does, and it's foolproof. Before forming the dough, preheat your oven to its highest heat. I did 500 Fahrenheit, which is about 260 Celsius, and place a piece of stone in there to let it heat up. For the sauce, I added a teaspoon each of garlic powder and chopped basil to about a cup of tomato sauce in a can, cooked it over low heat, turned it off the heat, and let it cool down. I like actual mozzarella, not the shredded fish food in the zipper bag that you can buy pre-made at the grocery store. That stuff has starch and other chemicals in it, and it is just gross. Place it in the oven and cook it until the cheese on top is browned and the crust is browned as well, usually around 10 minutes. And there you have it. Thanks for watching. I hope you feel more confident about something in your life. I mean, $20 for a pizza, like what a ripoff. That's actually how much it cost at a pizzeria near my house when I was looking at it on Google. I mean, it has to be autographed by the president of Italy or something for it to cost that much, and even then, he is not that popular.